everybody, it's Mrs. MacPhail and
Mrs. Gonzalez.
today we're talking about capacity, our learning objective. I can identify units of measurement for capacity. You thirsty, Mrs. Gonzalez?
I am. Those pictures of that milk just looks delicious.
Right? Here we go. Okay, so when we talk about liquid, there's a couple different ways that we can measure it. Actually, more than just a couple different ways. Maybe you recognize these from things that you have around your house, or you've seen them at the grocery store, or you've seen them at school. This is a gallon of milk, and so sometimes we can measure in gallons. Sometimes we can measure in quarts, depending on what it is we're measuring. For lunch, a lot of you end up getting pints or pints of milk. And if you've ever helped to cook in the kitchen before and mom and dad or grandma and grandpa or whomever pulls out a little measuring cup, we can also measure in cups. Now these are mostly ways that we measure in the U.S. system for measurements. Just like we've talked about in past lessons, we have both a metric system and a U.S. system. And this is mostly in the U.S. system, or all of these are in the U.S. system. And we'll talk a little bit more about the metric system as well today too. So gallons are pretty big. They measure large amounts of liquid, and some other things that you could use to measure gallons, or some other things that would take gallons, I guess you could say, would be a fish tank.
Oh, I have a fish tank in my classroom.
Does it have a lot of gallons?
It, I believe, had 3 gallons, Mrs. MacPhail. It's a little bit smaller one, but it had 3.
And that would be gallons of water, right?
Oh, yeah, not milk.
A swimming pool takes a lot of water. So you could measure a swimming pool and the amount of gallons that it takes to fill up the swimming pool. And a large sink. Maybe you're washing your dog at home. I know Keller loves to get baths, and we use, unfortunately, gallons and gallons of water to keep her clean. Quarts, not as big as a gallon, a little bit smaller. Things like a pitcher, a cooking pot, and a bucket are all ways that you can measure quarts.
You know what?
What's that?
I have used a cooking pot that looks exactly like that to boil water for spaghetti.
Oh, yeah. And I've used a bucket like this one to wash my car.
Awesome.
So everyday uses right here. All right, let's go on. Pints or pints measure even smaller. So we're kind of going down the scale here. So here's some example of pints or pints, depending on how you say it. Your school milk. Oops. Orange juice.
Ooh, a juice box. Yum.
And blood, believe it or not.
Okay.
Cups, even smaller yet. A soup or soup, yogurt, and coffee. So those are some different ways in the U.S. system that we measure. Now we can also talk about the metric system. And
okay.
These can measure small and large amounts too, Mrs. Gonzalez.
I'll tell them about this one.
Okay.
So we have milliliters that measure small amounts, and liters measure larger amounts. So for milliliters, we have 20 drops of water, which are very, very tiny. And liters are things like soda bottles or water bottles that maybe you have seen in the gas station. Well, what we have now is a chart for sorting. We have fluid ounce at the top. That's our smaller unit of measurement for capacity. Then we have cup, pint, quart, and gallon. So as we move to the right, the units of measurement get larger. On the bottom, we have the things we're going to sort, starting with school milk. School milk is a pretty small container. So trying to figure out where that should go. It could go in ounce, it could go in cup, it could go in pint. I believe, Mrs. MacPhail, I remember you talking about it in pint section. Would that be correct?
I always remember that it goes in pints because I can never remember if I say pint or pint. And so school milk just always sticks in my mind that it goes under the pint/pint category.
Okay. The cooking pot, oh, that one's familiar to me because I use that for spaghetti, and it can hold quite a bit of water. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in quart.
Spaghetti. I'm hungry now.
Should we do another one?
Let's do one more.
Okay, one more. Which one do you want to do?
Let's go ahead and do the swimming pool one.
Okay, swimming pool.
That takes a lot of water.
A lot of water. So
Look.
that we must need to put it in our biggest unit of measurement, which would be gallon.
Right on.
Hey, Mrs. McPhail, do you like games?
I love games. Ooh, and we're at that point now where we're ready for kind of like a check it all kind of game, right?
Yep. So we have talked a lot over the last few lessons about measuring. We talked about measuring length, we've talked about measuring volume, we've talked about measuring weight, and today we talked about units of measurement for capacity. So we want to put all this together in 2 quiz questions. So you're going to play a game, Mrs. McPhail,
Ooh.
with the grand finale game that involves 2 quiz questions, starting with this one. It says, which unit would you use to measure gasoline for a car?
And let's see, my choices are A, gallon, B, inch, C, fluid ounce, or D, ton. Well, I only know the answer to this because, aside from the fact that you taught me, but Mr. Nutty the other day ran out of gas in his car on the highway.
I didn't know Mr. Nutty could drive.
I didn't either, but apparently he can. He has the little license to prove it. But he called me and he said, hey, do you have a gallon so I can go buy some gasoline? So the answer has to be A, gallon.
All right, let's go to the next question.
Okay,
This is the last one in your grand finale quiz. Are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Okay, students, see if you can think through this too. Which tool would you use to measure the circumference of a measuring cup? Circumference, remember, means all the way around, and we're looking for a tool.
Yeah, that's a key word this time. Which tool would I use? So gram, scale, measuring tape, or ounce?
I think I know the answer.
I think I do too. I know a gram and an ounce, that's weight. Or gram is weight, ounce is weight as well. But then scale or measuring tape? Well, I know that if I have to go around, which is circumference, I need to use something that's flexible.
So I suppose scale wouldn't work.
No, scale really, I couldn't really wrap a scale around anything. That would just be
No.
weird. Yeah. Were you thinking C?
I was.
Yeah.
Hey, how about that? Let's finish this up.
Ooh.
On the first try, you correctly answered 2 questions, 100%.
It says you are a master.
Fantastic.
All right, good job, kids.
We have one more thing to show you today. This is called Mr. G. And if you draw Mr. G, it can help you remember gallons, quarts, pints, and cups. Mrs. McPhail, do you think you could try explaining this?
Sure. I'm going to draw a G here. The G stands for gallon. Inside the gallon, or inside 1 gallon, we have 4 quarts. Here's a quart. See these little Q's?
I see them.
2. So 1 gallon, there's 4 quarts. This is going to get really colorful really quick if I keep drawing like this. But 1 gallon has 4 quarts. In each quart, there is 2 pints, or 2 pints. So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pints or pints in 1 gallon. And then inside of each pint, you would have 2 cups. See?
I see them.
So then, get it? See? Do you see them?
Yeah, I get it. You're so funny.
So then inside a gallon, you'd have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. You had 16 cups in 1 gallon, 8 pints or pints in 1 gallon, 4 quarts in 1 gallon. So it's just kind of a nifty way that maybe you can draw to help you remember about how many cups, pints, quarts, etc. go into 1 gallon.
Huh, Mr. G.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Do you know Mr. G? You're Mrs. G after
I
all.
am Mrs. G, but I don't know Mr. G.
Okay.
Mr. G just lives on paper.
All right, friends, that's all we have for you today.
Bye.
That was funny. He just lives on paper. I hope you